What is up, y'all? It's your boy J Mills, and you know I have faith. Today I have a very special guest, my wife Tashina Miller.
Hello.
And we just celebrated a couple of anniversaries. We had our 10-year anniversary on the 8th of November. That's our wedding anniversary. And we had our 14-year anniversary just being together on November 17th. So I thought it would be fun if we put together this video of both of us telling our sides of our love story and just sharing that with you. And one of the biggest things about this is just how God has worked through our relationship together to bring us together and what He's done. And we're just so thankful, and we just want to share that maybe to encourage anybody, and just if anyone's curious about how we got together. Now, with this, we haven't really talked to each other about what we're going to say, so it's really going to be our side and our perspective of the same story, and I think it'll be fun that way to see and hear what bits and pieces we both decide to use in our story. And I'm just so thankful and blessed to be married to this woman right here.
So sweet.
And, yeah, without further ado, let's get started with our story.
So Jesse and I met at work. We both worked at Dish Network, and he was so sweet when he introduced himself to me. He was just like, "Hey, what's your name? My name's Jesse." And he was really kind and pleasant. I didn't get any kind of like weird, creepy vibes from him or anything. But unfortunately, at the time, I was dating somebody who also worked there. So Jesse was cool about it, and I explained to him like right away, you know, just so there wouldn't be any like mixed signals or anything like that, that I had a boyfriend. And we were just friends for a good 2 years. We would text each other every once in a while. He would always come up to my cubicle and say, "Hey, how you doing? What's up?" You know, just kind of go out of his way to say hi. And the friendship was really cool. He never, I guess you could say, like stepped on toes or crossed boundaries or was like a creep, you know, trying to be with me even though I had a boyfriend. He was always respectful and courteous. Courteous is like the most perfect word. But he was such a cool guy. We remained friends for a couple of years.
All right, before talking about how we met, I just wanted to speak about where God brought me from before I could even meet Tashina. So I was born in the Virgin Islands at St. Thomas, and that was 2,800 miles away from Boulder, where Tashina was born. And some 19, 20 years later is when we were able to meet, and he moved me all the way over here to Colorado. So already we can see God's working in this plan. And also, one thing that we discovered after we met was that we both worked at Kmart for maybe a month, where our 10 years there overlapped, and we didn't know each other, and I don't even think we saw each other, but our paths had literally crossed in the same place before we had met. Now, in 2002 is where we did meet, and we both worked at Dish Network. Now, for me, I would like to say it was love at first sight, because Tashina caught my attention right away, of course with her physical attributes, and I was just attracted right away. And the way our teams were set up at Dish Network, we had a designated area to work, where we had our cubicles all sectioned out, and her team was right next to my team, so I was able to see her. But one day, I'm not really sure what the circumstance was, but I had to sit away from where my team normally sits and where her team normally sits. And fortunately, I got to sit right next to her, and it was early in the morning, so it was before a heavy call load came in, so we had several minutes sometimes in between taking phone calls, and I took that opportunity to introduce myself to her. Obviously, again, I was already attracted and just being friendly. And the thing that's funny when I think about it is usually I'm really shy about that kind of stuff, but with Tashina, for some reason, God had already had her on my heart before I even knew that she was mine, but it just felt natural to introduce myself to her and try to get to know her. And after we got to know each other, I quickly found out that she was in a relationship, so we struck up a friendship, and I was okay with that. And the good thing about that is we were able to build this friendship before we tried to do anything relationship-wise. But with this friendship, there was just something about her that drew me to her, and I would go out of my way on almost a daily basis. If I was leaving my desk or coming to my desk for a break or whatever, I would stop by and just say, "Hey, how's it going? How are you doing? How are your shorties?" And just, even if it was just a quick 2-minute conversation or less, it was just a highlight of my day just to go and say hi and to enrich this friendship with this person. Tashina was just so sweet, and she was always in such a good mood whenever I would come by. And come to find out now, she was dealing with a lot of stuff during that time, but I would never know it because I would come by and say hi, and she would be all smiles, and it would just be so natural again for us to strike up conversation and just be friendly to each other. One story that I like to bring up from when we were working there, if you've ever worked in a call center, you know that while you're on the phone, sometimes it can be a little boring, so you would find things to pass the time, things that don't require a lot of mental focus, like maybe coloring or drawing. For me, I used to cut out the football players out of the Sporting News magazine that would come out every week. Again, just something to occupy yourself while you're talking to customers. Well, Tashina had drawn a picture for me of a rainbow and some clouds and just colored it in with markers, and it was real pretty, and she just said, "Hey, here you go," and I said, "Oh, thanks." And I took that drawing and I put it in my bag that I would keep my headset in and my notes and everything like that. And the whole entire time I worked there at Dish Network, which is probably about 2 years, I had that drawing with me. And that's one of the things that I regret today is when I left Dish Network, I was just peace out, and I just left all my stuff there, and I was ready to go. But I wish I would have kept that drawing because I had kept it with me that entire time that I worked there. And that would just be an awesome memento to have today, something that she gave to me as a token of our friendship, really, and that's all it was. But I can still remember it, and that's still something that a memory that I hold near and dear, just to show, what kind of friendship that we had and how sweet she was to me. And then after we were not working with each other at Dish Network, we would keep in touch fairly frequently, just texting here and there, just say, "Hey, how are you doing?" and just, small talk of that nature. But even when we weren't able to see each other at work, we would still keep in touch and just chit-chat here and there.
So how we became a couple is, after the relationship I was previously in, it kind of dwindled away, and just trying to find love in really all the wrong places, relationship after relationship. And Jesse and I were texting, and we were kind of like, I don't know, confiding in one another on, like our relationships and how it was going and how bad it was. And we were both on the verge of like breaking up in the relationships that we had. And we were just texting, just one day, and he was like, "Do you want to hang out?" And I was like, "Sure." And so we just started hanging out, and he would come and pick me up. He would drop me off at work. He would come and see me in the mornings. before he went home from his night shift. I worked in the mornings, he worked at night, so he would come and drop me off like a cream cheese bagel with a coffee like almost every single morning. And we were just, I don't know, we were kind of just like this. Although we weren't together, we were still hanging out like a bunch and chit-chatting, and finally out of the relationships that we were previously like talking about to each other, and kind of, you know, being there for one another. You know, we were in pretty bad relationships and, you know, unhealthy relationships, I guess you could say. And so we just started hanging out and talking more and more and more. I became more and more comfortable with him, and you know, the cool thing about Jesse is he would always ask like how my kids were, and it was just really cool because no other person, not really like a friend or a boyfriend, anything like that, like a guy friend or boyfriend, would ever ask, how are your kids? You know, I came with baggage, and he knew that, you know, my kids aren't, I mean, baggage is such like a I don't know, like a bad word it sounds like, but he knew that I had children from previous relationships, and he still would approach, and he would still, you know, act like he really wanted to get to know me. So, like I said, so we were just hanging out all the time. He would take me out to eat all the time, and we were just hang out, you know, we would hang out. It was pretty innocent. We, back then we were doing a lot of worldly stuff. I will admit that. You know, we would drink together, we would do other things together, but whatever we did together, we would have so much fun. It was never inappropriate. It was never disrespectful. It was never abusive. It was just always happy and smiles, and him trying to make me happy and him making me happy. Ultimately, he did make me happy. It was like the cutest thing ever. So Jesse and I were like hanging out and, you know, doing our thing, like always eating, really going out and hanging out. We would, like I went to his Christmas business party one year, and like I know like we liked each other, but we were just friends still, but just like always together. So anyways, this one particular day I was at work, and he was texting me, and he was telling me about this friend that he had, and how he liked her so much, and he was like, I don't want to tell her and have it ruin the relationship. But he's like, I want to tell her because I want to let her know like I like her, and I'm like, okay, well, I was so oblivious. I was texting him back, and I was like, okay, wait, if you really like this girl and you guys are really close friends, I think you should tell her because, you know, you will never know if you don't tell her, and I don't think she's going to get mad at you, or if I don't think it's going to change the relationship if she's not interested, if you guys are really that close of friends. And I was like, I think you should just tell her, and, you know, be honest, whatever I said. But I was like, yeah, just tell her, you know. I was like lifting him up and trying to encourage him, just tell her, you know. And his text back, he texted me back and he said, I just did. Like, he just told me. I was her. Like, the her he was talking about was me. And that's just the cutest story. And I remember like setting my phone down and kind of like pushing it away. Like, what? Like, it was just so cute. And yeah, that's pretty much how I found out he really liked me. And then from there, we were just continually going out to eat and hanging out. I always say going out to eat and going to dinner, and because that's really what we did. Like, he always fed me, which was amazing because what girl doesn't like food? So, like I said, we had always gone out to eat almost every other day, if not every day. And this one particular day, I want to say at least 1 to 2, maybe almost 3 months into just like hanging out, he took me to the Olive Garden and we were eating, and I wish I could remember like word for word like what he said, but it was just really sweet and really kind and just loving that he had asked me to be his girlfriend over lunch. And now that I think about it, I want to say like I sat there for a while. I don't know, a while, because I don't know, it felt like just time stopped. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like thinking in my head, you know, just give it a shot, give it a shot. You know, it's worth it. After all the other lame stuff that I've been through, I was like, just give it a shot. It doesn't hurt to try. And from being able to experience and be with him almost every day, there were no red flags like whatsoever, not one, which was really weird because I'm used to like red flags, and you know, my past is like red flag, but most of the time I'm like ignoring it. But I see it, but I'm just like, I put it under the rug, as people would say. And so I remember thinking, I'm just gonna give it a try. And I told Jesse yes. You know, so he asked me to be his girlfriend. It was on or around November 17th, which was just yesterday. Like I said, we just celebrated our 14th year anniversary of, you know, being together. And I said yes, and that was like the best decision I had ever made. Yeah, it's just been amazing, really, really good. I've been super, super blessed and just really excited that I have been a part of his life, and he's been loving me nonstop, unconditionally ever since.
I was looking for love. I wasn't looking for short term. I wasn't looking for anything but, you know, a long-term relationship. I wanted to find my mate, and I was fairly young, I know, but I just know that that's something that I was missing in my life. And you know, I would even write poems out of frustration because I was always the nice guy who finished last. You know, with every girlfriend that I had, I was always respectful and I was always nice, and I never did anything stupid like cheat or anything like that, or be disrespectful or anything of that nature. But for some reason to me, and I had no idea why at the time, and I do now, because God had somebody waiting for me. But I was just frustrated because I felt like I was doing everything right. And the longest relationship that I was able to keep was for 4 months. So you'd think that, or I would think that there was something wrong with me. So again, I was looking for love. I wanted that to be something that was part of my life. So fast forward to 2004, when me and Tashina were friends, and neither one of us worked at Dish Network at this time. So like I said, we would keep in touch via text messaging here and there. And one day we were just chit-chatting about our relationships and things that we were going through. And I had just gotten out of a relationship, and she had just gotten out of a relationship. And really, this is the only time that during our friendship, that we were both single. There was always another time when at least one or the other of us were in a relationship. So it wouldn't work out for us to be anything more than friends. And again, that's okay, because that really helped us to build this solid foundation in this friendship first. But anyway, we were texting about our relationships, and I decided to get a little brave, and I started talking to her about this friend that I have who I like more than a friend and who I would like to be more than friends with. But I was concerned genuinely that our friendship was really valuable to me, and I didn't want to jeopardize that or anything if we tried to get into a relationship and it didn't work, and then a friendship fall apart because of that. And so I was telling her this, and her advice to me is, well, just tell the person how you feel. If they're really your friend, or if your friendship is that strong, then it'll all work out. And so my response to her was, I just did. So basically I was telling her how I felt about her, but telling her in a way that it seemed to her I was talking to somebody else. So after I was able to get that off my chest and to let her know that I thought of her as being more than friends, we decided, well, why don't we just hang out and see how things go. So we would hang out almost every day. We would go out to lunch, we'd go to Olive Garden a lot, we would just hang out. I would pick her up from work, and at that point it was still, friendship, but it was, at least in my mind, it was with the intention of going further than that at some point, but at the same time, being respectful and let's just be friends and spend this extra time with each other and see where it goes. So after hanging out with each other for a month or so, maybe a little bit more, and it was almost on a daily basis, I finally got the courage to think that I should ask her to be my girlfriend. I figured at this point she still wants to hang out with me every day, so obviously I don't know if she's interested in me in that way yet, but I know that she's not interested in whatever that might be. I was telling her the other day, I know she didn't think that I was a complete spaz at that point because she was willing to spend that time with me. So I had gotten the idea that I wanted to ask her out. So Olive Garden was our place to be. We would, like I said, we would go there a lot for lunch. I would work nights at the job that I had, and she would work mornings, so the lunchtime was the best time for us to have that time together. So I took her to lunch that day, and I just told her, I really like you, and I'm really enjoying this time that we're spending with each other, and I think that we should make this official. And that was the word that I used, we should make it official. And she said yes. So at that point, we were technically boyfriend and girlfriend. And that was November 17th, 2004. So that's the 14-year togethership anniversary that we just celebrated not too long ago. 14 years ago is when we got together. Now, after I was officially able to make her my girlfriend, this really put me at ease, and I felt like she was mine now. There was no, guessing where do we stand, what's our friendship, am I still in the friend zone, whatever the case might be. She's my girlfriend now, she's mine, now I want to take care of her. I remember one time after that happened, I was taking her to drop her son off at school, and she went to go walk him to class, and I just remember thinking, wow, she's mine now. Like 2 years of crushing on this girl, and now she's my girlfriend, and just that feeling I still remember today, and it was a good feeling to have. And with that, taking ownership, so to speak, and her being mine, about a month after we made it official, I had gotten an apartment for us. And I know that her living situation at the time wasn't ideal. She had a roof over her head. She was blessed to have a place to stay, but it was with family members, and it wasn't her own space. And I just felt like, again, she's mine now. I'm going to take care of her. I'm in this relationship to win. I'm in it to win it. This is who I want to be with, and I don't go into relationships thinking, oh, this is just going to be short term or this isn't going to work out. No, I was committed. And so I had picked up an apartment, and I didn't even tell her until I signed the lease. And I think, if I remember correctly, I think I picked her up and I said, let's go check out our place. And she was like, what? And so I took her to the apartment. I said, this is ours now. We're going to live here. Me, you, and Isaiah. And, that was just the very beginning of our relationship. But, we had already had 2 years of foundation built up at that point, and I knew I really liked her and I cared for her. And it was just something I was ready to do. The thing is, I mentioned that I got the apartment for the three of us. I knew Tashina had kids when we got together, and I had no problem taking on that responsibility. That's how much I cared for her, that my love for her, my care for her would extend to her children. And the children that she had previously before we got together, I still treat as my own today. And I call it a blessing that I could be a father figure in their lives. So about a year later, after we got the apartment, God blessed us with the house. We were able to buy a house, and we moved in there. And about a month after we got the house, Tashina had faith. which is our youngest daughter, together. And that was just really a blessing for him to be able to give us a house, and for me to even have a house at such a young age, and for us to build our family there. And fast forward maybe about 2 years later or so, I want to say it was maybe around 2006 is when I had the opportunity to first propose to Tashina. And the way that worked out is we had been partying the night before, and I knew in my heart again that she was the one for me. There was just a strong feeling and so much care and love for this woman that I knew that she was the only one that I wanted to be with. And it goes all the way back to our history that I talked about with our friendship, to when we got together and just building all of that up. So after we were at a party, she wasn't feeling so good the next day, and I was thinking I already want to ask her, and I know she's not feeling well, so I'll ask her now because I know that'll cheer her up. And it really did. And what I told her, I was like, hey, you want to go shopping for rings? And she was like, engagement rings? And I was like, yeah. And really her reaction and just her demeanor changed just like that to excitement and happiness. And we went to Jared, and I let her pick out the ring that she liked the best, and we picked it up. And then once we finally got it, what I did is in our room, since I actually finally had a ring, that's when I officially proposed to her. Will you marry me? I went down on one knee in our bedroom, and I gave it to her, and of course she said yes. And that's how we became engaged.
Okay, so how we got married. Now this is a really cool, fun story. So there was one particular night where Jesse and I had kind of partied, and just partied way too much. Like I said, we used to be in the world. We're not in this world anymore. We don't do any of this stuff, but God's changed us so much. Thank you, God. But one particular night we were partying. The next day I was just so sick. I was really sick and just not good. And I remember being in the bathroom and kind of getting ready for the day, and him being in the shower, and he was like, do you want to go look at rings? And I was like, what? Because like the water's running and I'm not sure if I heard what I heard, and I was like, what? And he was like, do you want to go look at rings? And I was like, yeah. So it's like this funny story where like instantly I felt better. Like I got dressed and we got ready, and then we went to go look at rings. And so I remember I texted my friend, he wants to take me to go look at rings, and she was telling me, go to this place, don't go here, go to this place, and just giving me really good recommendations. So we went there, and he let me pick out a wedding ring. And that's just Jesse to really just, I don't know, people might call it spoil, but he says that I'm not spoiled, I'm loved, and if he could get me anything, he would in a heartbeat. If it's something I want or something I need, he'll get it. And it's just so amazing to be treated, so well. And I prayed and I hoped for a certain type of man that I wanted to marry. And you pray for the normal things. You want to be treated well. You want to be loved. You want to be accepted and appreciated, and not cheated on, not like game playing. Like, that's the kind of stuff like I wished for. I just want to be loved unconditionally. And I think the word loved for me was all that in one. So when I thought about, what kind of guy I wanted to find to marry, it was really just being loved and never ever left from that man and never abused by that man. And So when God brought Jesse into my life, God exceeded all of those expectations so much, and I just can't thank God anymore. And it's just been amazing ever since. So back to the ring story before I get too emotional. So we picked out a ring. Well, I picked out the ring. He let me pick out whatever ring I wanted, and I was thrilled. And we were engaged for, I think Faith was 3 years old. It almost felt like 4 years we were engaged, but maybe 3-4 years we were engaged. And then we finally got married.
All right, so we had been engaged for a little while, and we were engaged and we fully intended on marrying each other, but we never really had a date set. We never really had a plan. I just knew I wanted to marry this woman, and I asked her to marry me, and she agreed, and we knew we were gonna get married, but again, we had no plans on when and how and what we were gonna do there. So fast forward a little bit, now we're at about 2008, and we had actually had a falling out, kind of a splitting up of sorts, and I don't like to bring this up because it's in the past, and it's not anything that I dwell on or that I hold against Tashina anymore, but it's an important part of our story because it's just something that was meant to destroy us that built us up. So we had split up around February of 2008, I want to say, because of some infidelity, and so we split up, and for a few months we weren't living together, and I remember the story clearly. Faith was just a baby, and she was in her crib one day, and when we had Faith together, a lot of people would say, "Oh, Faith looks just like Tashina. They look like twins. They look just alike." And I would see it, but I couldn't really see it like twins. I just knew they looked alike. But this one night, I was looking at Faith, and I saw Tashina's face, and I just knew, this little girl I'm going to continue to see Tashina in, and she's always going to be in my heart no matter what. And the longest relationship I had before this was 4 months, and at this point, from 2004 to 2008, we had been together for 4 years at that point. So that totally blew any of my other relationships out of the water. And I just knew in my heart that we were going to eventually get back together. So one thing led to another, and Tashina moved back in with me at our house, but we weren't together yet. And that was just just for her sake, and it was just something that I know we weren't together at the time, but she was still somebody that I cared for. She was still the mother of my child, and I don't want to say I allowed, I can't think of another word, but I agreed to let her move in and stay with me until we figure out what's going to happen next. So we were living together again, but we weren't together, and Tashina really had a fire in our heart to fight for our relationship and for us to get back together. And I'm really glad she did, and I know that we were going to get back together at some point. I just didn't know when, but by her fighting for it and her really, wanting to be back in the relationship together, and her, genuinely showing remorse for what was done up to that point, that showed me that we should get back together. So I think it was about June of 2008 that we got back together. And that 4 months or so that I didn't have her, I really had something missing. And I can't remember exactly when I proposed again to her, but just knowing what life was like without her, I knew even more at that point that I needed her in my life and that I wanted her to be my wife. So I proposed again, and when we had split up and she moved out, she gave me back her ring that I gave her, but I kept the ring. So at this point, when we were back together and we were working to just solidify our relationship again and to get back to where we were. I got the ring from where it was, and I took her right to the same very spot that I proposed to her the first time, and I proposed to her again, will you marry me? And of course she said yes. And again, I was even more sure and more certain than I was the first time that I proposed to her, that this is who I wanted to be with, this is who I wanted to marry, this is who I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. And I was so serious at that point. The first time we engaged, we just were engaged. But the second time we got engaged, we set a date, we planned it, and we were ready to do it, and everything went in motion, and God made that process go really smooth. And on November 8th, 2008 is when we got married, and that was just one of the most joyous days of my life, to marry my best friend, and just the journey that we had been through to get there, and for us to finally be married. And God is good. God is real good.
So we got married in November in 2008, and like I said, we just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. It's like so surreal to say, because I'm not even kidding you. This isn't like a cliche, how people are like, oh, the time flies so much and so fast, and like the time seriously flew. I think if our relationship and our marriage was kind of crappy and like going downhill and not a successful marriage, it would have felt like 10 years. But oh my gosh, like it's been fun. We've had hard times, we've had good times, we've had more good times than hard times, but through it all, like, we love each other and we're there for each other, and we protect each other, and we adore each other. And it's just so amazing to have such a love that you've never felt before, and to have not only that love for a person, but the person love you back, like the same, if not more. And it's just been so amazing, like ever since. Married life is amazing. I love being married. It's fun. It's challenging at times. It's all these good things, but at the very end of the day, like, you guys, we love each other. Not you guys, but we love each other, and we're here for one another, and we're here for our babies, and we want to set such an example for our children, and to be together, not just for our children, but just to be like a family, and to be solid and have a strong foundation. And the only way we could have done that is with God, and continue to do it is with God, because without Him, there would have been so many times in our relationship where things would have really crumbled and the enemy would have had his way. But God has made a strong foundation, and He has got us through a really hard time, a couple of really hard times. And He's just so good, and He deserves nothing but praise and glory. And I'm just so thankful to have Jesse as my husband, and it's just so fun to really reminisce and kind of go back, like where we came from and where it all started. So recently we just bought a home together, and as you can see, if you've watched any of my old videos, the background looks totally different because we are in our new home. Praise God. We are so happy. We are in our home, and it's so beautiful. And I still need to make a video about showing you guys pictures of our home, but we've pretty much built this house from the ground up. It was just dirt, and we just are really enjoying our home together in our own space as husband and wife with our children, and just loving what we have and thanking God for everything that we have, because we wouldn't have any of this if it wasn't for God, to be honest. Not a strong marriage, not a home, not health, not anything that's good we wouldn't have, and we just thank God so much. We are just going to continue to worship God and live the life that He's wanted us to live and love each other, most importantly, and just share that love with others, for, to other people, and to our children and to our family. And it's just amazing, and I'm excited to see where God takes us next. So yeah, that's pretty much how we met, how we got married, and how God is just the foundation of our marriage, truly the foundation. God is just the cornerstone of our marriage. He's truly our strength, and when we go through anything, we lean on Him and we lean on each other, because we know that we are so deeply rooted in Christ. And yeah, it's just been amazing, and I'm just, like I said before, I'm excited to see where God takes us next and what God has in store for us next.
So like I said at the beginning of the video, we just celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary on November 8th and our 14-year of being together anniversary on November 17th. And wow, does time fly when you're having fun. And here's the thing with the story that I told about leading up to our wedding. I really feel like the enemy tried to hit us as hard as he could with the best that he had in order to break our relationship, and it didn't work. God had something better planned for us, and now that we've been through what probably is the hardest thing that we can ever deal with as a couple, we've made it through it. All glory to God, of course. We know that no matter what comes against us, it's going to fail in comparison to what we've already been through. So again, the enemy took his best shot at us and it didn't work. So now what has he got? He's got little pot shots and little tricks and little things up his sleeve that he can try, but none of it's going to work, because we know that our love will stand the test of time. We've already seen and shown and proven, and by the grace of God, that we can make it through anything. So that doesn't mean that our relationship is going to be without any trouble. It just means that no matter what comes our way, we know that we're going to get through it. When we've been through ups and downs, we've had bankruptcy, we've had a foreclosure, we're raising teenagers, we've just been through a lot of different things, moving after our leases are up every year so many times, and just all those tough times that we've been through, we know that our love is always going to be there. And it also doesn't mean that we're not going to have disagreements, because we do. We're humans, and at some point there's always going to be something to disagree about, but we know that our love is greater than anything that could ever come up against us. So when we do have a disagreement, we know that we can disagree, but that doesn't mean that we don't love each other, because we do love each other. And just having that security and just having that solid foundation, of course, which is on top of God, but just knowing that this person that you're with loves you so much and you love them so much that no matter what happens, that love is going to remain. That's really something to just hold on to, and it's really a blessing. So I'm just really blessed to be married to my best friend, someone who has always had me drawn to them from the very first day that I saw her to the very first day that I actually got to meet her, and every day since then I've just been drawn to this woman. The attraction is still there 16 years later, and I would argue that it's even greater than the attraction that I had when I first met her. And that's just more than just physical attraction. That's just seeing the heart and seeing who she is, and just being able to witness her growth as well. Tashina and I have matured a lot together, but we've also matured a lot individually, and just me personally being able to see that process, it helps my love grow for her even more. God really exceeded my expectations and my wishes when finding a mate. I had mentioned before we got together how I was looking for love, and all I really wanted was just someone who would love me as much as I love them. But God has given me someone who arguably loves me more than I love them. And I love Tashina a lot, and I know that she loves me a lot, and we can debate all day long about who loves each other, and that's a good thing, because we're both saying I love you more, no I love you more, and it's wishy-gushy and makes somebody sick, but it's the truth. We both love each other so much, and God has exceeded really what I was even looking for. I didn't even really know what I wanted. I just know I wanted somebody in my life to love me and that I could love. And then God brought Tashina along, and it totally blew my expectations out of the water. And that's just what God does. He can give you what you want, but so much more, and just exceedingly and abundantly above all else is what the Bible says that you can do. One good thing about us is we make a good team. We really complement each other. We really balance each other out. I'm really laid back, and Tashina's, she's real fiery, and there's times when I can pull her back and say, calm down, it's gonna be all right. Let's just chill and wait. And then there's times when she's telling me, this is important. You need to do something, and she lights a fire under me to act. So just in those aspects alone, we really complement each other. And her strengths are my weaknesses, and my strengths are her weaknesses. So we really make a good team. And just seeing how good we mesh with each other, and how we work together as a team, and all of those things, God has God's fingerprints all over it, because only God can put two people together who match each other so perfectly and who complement each other so perfectly, and that's all God. We're at our 10-year wedding anniversary, and really this is just the beginning of our journey. And I know we have many years together, and we have many stories and testimonies to tell. We just got this house that God blessed us with, and I have another video that I'm going to speak about on that specifically. But I mentioned bankruptcy and foreclosure and stuff, and here we are. God's blessed us with another house, and we're really rooted in our church, Redemption City Church, and we're a team together, and we're really committed, and just really wanting to further God's word there, and just be a part of that community, and just help out wherever we can. And we're a team in doing that. We support each other 100% on whatever it is that we want to do to help out there. And I just want to say that God is in this marriage, and we're so blessed that He is our foundation. In the Bible it says in Genesis, when God created man, He said, "Let us create man in our image." Well, what that means is God, it says in our image. Well, it's a Trinity: God, the Son, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. So when He says, "Let us create man in our image," well, how does He do that? How does He create man as a Trinity? Well, there's man, and there's wife, and there's God. That's the Trinity. So I really feel like God's love is shining through us, and is an example of what His love is. If anybody were curious about God and were to come to me and say, what is God's love like? And I would say, well, do you see how I treat my wife? Well, that's how God's going to treat you. And I really take that seriously, not only because I love her so much and I cherish her, and I know that we're supposed to treat our wives like Jesus loved the church, but even just being representation of God's love to the world, that's something that we are able to display. And I'm just so blessed and lucky to be able to do that with my best friend. And God is so good, so good. We have many more years together, and I'm just so thankful for God. I give God all the glory, give Him all the credit. It's not anything that I did, it's everything that He did. And just trusting God, because He's good and He loves you no matter what. And your story may be different, your journey to get there may be different, but it's the same God. He's the same God yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And He doesn't love me any more than He loves you. So if He's able to bless me with this wonderful marriage, He's able to bless you as well. So that's our love story, and God is good.
And you shared a lot of good things that I left out. So yeah, that's really cool to see it from two different perspectives, and I'm excited to hear your guys' feedback. But yeah, that's our love story. We truly love each other so much. We get asked all the time if we're newlyweds, which we're not. It's really cool that You know, people are like, did you guys just get married? And then we're like, no. And, you know, because we're always like, we want to be next to each other. And if we're in the same room, we want to be next to each other, or we want to be able to see each other and be close to each other. And it's never like a burden. It's never annoying. It's like, this is how we are. Like, if you know us, we're like, I don't know, we show that we're in love because we are in love. I mean, if we were like little cartoons, there would be little hearts up above us.
Yeah, we tell everybody that we're a package deal.
Yeah. We're definitely a package deal. You get us both.
Alright, y'all, so thanks for watching. Again, that's our love story. I hope it encouraged you. If you have any comments or questions or anything that you have for us, just throw them in the comments below. You know the deal with the social media. Do your likes, subscribes, and follows. And as always, it's all good because it's all God. Peace.
That was really cool, babe. He's getting all spongy over here. His eyes are getting spongy. It's so sweet.